Hello, everyone. I'm Roxana, and today I'm excited to be joined by Molly Rucker from KetoBrainz. KetoBrainz is known for its innovative nootropic products that fit seamlessly into a ketogenic lifestyle. Today, we are going to dig into the science behind their formula and discuss how these products can be a valuable addition to your daily routine. Molly, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. So KetoBrainz. KetoBrainz is a nootropic creamer. So we have a full nootropic stack that we decided to embed in a simple to use and delicious base of C8 MCT and coconut milk powder. So the
MCT is medium chain triglycerides, something that all the keto world knows about, yes?
Yes, so we are medium chain triglycerides. I love them all, but for the purposes of stimulating ketone production via the liver, the C8 caprylic acid MCT does the best job of this. And that's why for our formula, we chose that as the base. We wanted people to, whether they were in ketosis or not, benefit from that bump of ketones that would come from that 8-gram dose of the C8 MCT as the base. So to us, the base of the creamer was very important. It needed to be functional. It needed to be delicious. It needed to not be gritty. It needed to ensure, because we love coffee or tea, the perfect coffee tea experience. And then we get into the nootropics. And the nootropics...
Okay, before you do that, I have to disclosure to make. Yeah. I put into my coffee an egg, a tablespoon of butter, a scoop of KetoBrainz, and then I blend that with the coffee, obviously. And so I'm actually drinking it right now. And I usually put some chocolate salt in it too.
I love it. No, and that's brilliant. You're getting you're getting the extra choline from the egg. You're going to get that further emulsification and absorption of the nutrients. I wish I had added an egg to mine now. My coffee seems boring. I'll have to do that after. So yes, the experience of the product was important. Morning beverages, I'm sorry, but I find them to be very important. And while there are many things I have tried and will ingest that do not taste good, we did not want a product that was going to diminish the experience of your wonderful morning beverage in any way. So fortunately, we were able to make a base that both, again, had that functionality of bumping ketones, but also gave you that experience. The extra fun part to me is the nootropics. So nootropics are drugs or supplements or different nutrients that can change an already good brain into a better brain. So the word nootropic comes from the Greek mind turning. So nootropics are substances that have the ability to turn an already good mind into a better mind. We want to have optimal functionality. Those in the keto world, I mean, like myself, you're already experiencing that additional functionality just from the ketones. And when we were putting this product together, I kind of thought of it in terms of, okay, ketones feel amazing. I know these specific nootropics do certain things. How can we take the cognitive enhancing benefits of the state of ketosis a step further with a choice nootropic blend in clinically relevant doses instead of what you see a lot of in the supplement industry, which is a laundry list of magical ingredients with just a sprinkle that you aren't really feel? Too much of that, in my opinion. So when formulating KetoBrainz, I wanted something that you were going to feel. And by feel, I want you to feel more focused. I want you to feel more clear. And I want you to feel functional and aligned and smooth, not jittery. We don't want you to feel like you've had, a Red Bull or a 5-hour energy, or we don't want that. So this focus word. So the word focus, the feeling of focus, has a neurotransmitter behind it. And that neurotransmitter or neuromodulator is acetylcholine. And without adequate acetylcholine, we do not have this thing we call focus. So one of the best forms of choline for up-regulating production of acetylcholine is called alpha-GPC. So alpha-GPC is alpha-glycerylphosphocholine. And alpha-glycerylphosphocholine does the best job of crossing the blood-brain barrier to produce more acetylcholine, which is quite literally the neuromodulator of focus for a mammal. So for me, in formulating a product, there has to be reality to what I'm saying the product is going to do. So you'll find many products that say will increase focus. So when I'm looking, I look immediately for where's the cholinergic agent? Where is the choline or the choline precursor that's actually going to increase acetylcholine, right? So for our formula, every scoop has a full 300 milligrams of alpha GPC. So when you dive into the studies on alpha GPC, there's studies on 300 milligrams, 600, 900, 1200. So the thinking in doing 300 was that if you're like me and you have long days and you use it more than once a day, I'm kind of compounding the benefits, right? If I take it. Yep. So you're up there, yeah, with that 600 milligram a day dose. So that was key for me to be sure that we have a product that actually helps with focus. Those 300 milligrams of the alpha GPC. So that's something most people will feel acutely. Some people feel it incredibly strongly. Those individuals typically have had a very low choline status and low choline diet for a long time. Some people, we've had very few, but a few people in the carnivore world and the keto world who have been optimized for proper choline from eggs and things over many years. They feel it, but it doesn't feel as potent as those people who find the product when they have been in a low choline state. So it's interesting. It hits everybody differently. We haven't had anyone not like it, but it hits stronger or less strong depending on your current choline status. So that's our first nootropic in KetoBrainz. Second, we have lion's mane mushroom. We have a full 500 milligrams of lion's mane mushroom. We have chosen an organic lion's mane mushroom from Fruiting Body, and it's grown on wood. So we don't have some of the substrates that people have become concerned about with their lion's mane, and we're not using the mycelium. There's always scientists battling over which is better. I've been in this industry for 22 years now, and I'm sticking with the science that I first learned on Fruiting Body. I think the science is still sound, and I think that's the best place to get it from. So with lion's mane, two of the big things we think about with lion's mane upregulates something called NGF, nerve growth factor, and BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor. So these are crucial proteins that we need to increase neurogenesis to help heal neurons being brain cells, nerve cells. Some people feel lion's mane and some people don't, but it's doing something for both of those individuals. And all I can figure with that, genetically, we all have a different SNP for how much BDNF we naturally produce. So I think those who perhaps have that SNP that is low production, I could imagine that those are the individuals who take lion's mane and they feel it. If you're on the high end and you're already producing enough lion's mane, you may not feel it, but you're still getting that upregulation for long-term brain health and cognitive function. So for me, in a stack for brain health, we want an acute feeling. I want you to take this and I want it to improve your day, but I also want it to be doing work in the background to help ensure that the brain is healthy and strong in the long term. So with lion's mane, that's what we're looking at. We're looking at a proper 500 milligram dose in every scoop. We have a 30% polysaccharide content, so we're guaranteed that we're getting some of those key polysaccharides that we need to increase the the BDNF and the nerve growth factor. And we're getting that, that miracle grow for the brain, if you will. Like people will speak of it as miracle grow for the brain because it's helping keep those little neurons nourished and healed over time. So that's number 2. And then our third.
Before you go to the third, can you get too much? Like if you drink?
So that's a really good question. And on all of these ingredients, I've not seen anything where there is an issue with taking too much. Now, alpha GPC, if you took too much, if you took more than 1,200 milligrams, maybe you would feel like you had more energy that you wanted towards the end of the day. I have not seen anything where you're going to cause harm. Like, I've taken up to 6 servings a day, which is getting me a lot of choline. On the lion's mane, I mean, it's a mushroom, it's a food. If you have a sensitivity to mushrooms, it's possible that too much lion's mane might make you feel a thing. But I don't have anything in here where I feel like, oh, definitely don't take more than X number of scoops a day because you're going to be getting too much of X. And the only thing I've seen is that if you're very optimized for choline, or so like for myself years ago, when I first discovered all the different types of choline, and I had not yet discovered that I had all of the MTHFR gene mutations and the PEMT and all of these mutations that led to suboptimal levels of choline. When I first took alpha GPC, I absolutely felt like I could take too much because I felt like my brain felt more awake than I was ready for, if that makes any sense. But I think I honestly also felt that in the beginning with ketosis. So,
absolutely, it can feel very overwhelming.
And yes, especially because in the beginning, before your body has the transporters to use the ketones, like I was hitting 6 and 7 millimole, like on the regular, and it felt amazing, but borderline, like that's too much, right? And we learn, like, I like a 2.5, right? I like a 1.5 to a 2, and as I start getting to like a 3.5 and higher, there's a different feeling to it. But there's also kind of, at least for me, apologies, there's cars out there. Once you get to know how that molecule feels, you kind of have an idea. But in the beginning, when you're first playing with a new molecule, whether it's the beautiful ketones that my body is making, or it's with the alpha GPC that I am getting accustomed to, you start to have a feel for how these molecules hit you and how to dose them, if you will. I don't feel any of that with alpha GPC anymore. And with ketones, I've had a relationship, if you will, with them for about 5 years now. So, I feel like I know how to leverage the ketone molecule. If I'm really high ketones for some reason, okay, we fast, we go to the gym, we run, we bump the ketones more. If I want my brain to be quiet and not take on more projects, I perhaps want less ketones. Because, in that high ketone state, you're apt to say yes to everything. And then if you're no longer in that high ketone state, you kind of don't have the same amount of energy to get through everything. So, but to your question, I'm sure there is a too much, but it would be a lot. It would be more than you could hope to do with one bag of our product with like a 30-day supply of it. And again, I think the big thing, in this community, we're all really familiar with the N of 1. I have a friend at the gym. She took KetoBrainz and she felt like one scoop kept her up for 24 hours. I thought that was amazing information because what that told me is that she is incredibly low in choline and she needs to eat more eggs and she needs to eat more meat and start with a 1/4 scoop of KetoBrainz, because that is amazing information, because you should not be kept up for 24 hours from one 300 milligram serving of something. But if your choline levels and your acetylcholine has been so low for so long, and your poor brain finally gets a proper dose of choline to make acetylcholine, yeah, you're going to feel different. Your brain is going to be awake for the first time. So whereas I was excited because that told me some things about her physiology, she's not familiar with the supplement space or any of this. To her, she just thought it was a stimulant. I was like, it's in no world is this a stimulant. But the fact that your brain responded in that way tells us some really cool information.
It's really deficient, yeah.
Exactly. So I do not find much of that, if any, in the community of people who are already fat adapted and they're not afraid of fat and they're eating proper cholesterol and fat. I don't ever have anyone in the community respond in that way, but to kind of the normie, if you will, that just normal diet, normal everything, you know, no supplements, still afraid of the wrong foods, eating too much of the quote unquote right foods. Those are the individuals who will have that really strong, to me, wonderful telling experience that then lets us learn about their physiology and what we can do to kind of help normalize it. But it's interesting. As similar as we all are, there are genetic and epigenetic differences that change how everything we ingest hits us. You know, from the lean mass hyperresponder thing to someone like me who can't get her cholesterol up no matter how much fat and protein I eat. There's individual variances, and I think one of the most important things we can all do is become comfortable with being our own N of one, because you have to take ownership of the information that your body gives you. And then let's also have blood tests. Let's also work with doctors. Let's get more information, but we need the whole picture. And you, me, us, we're the most important knower of our picture, right? So apologies for the tangent, but
No, it's fine. I also find that going on a ketogenic diet really helps you tune into these signals. But on the other hand, if you're really deficient in something and then take KetoBrainz, that can show you if you have a strong reaction that you are deficient in that. So the third ingredient.
Yes. So our third ingredient is a wonderful little molecule called L-theanine. So L-theanine, I really like to think of, and I feel it as a hug for the brain. So L-theanine crosses the blood-brain barrier. So first of all, theanine is found in very small amounts in a lot of places in nature, a lot of plant foods. It's found in the highest amounts in green tea. A matcha green tea would have the highest amount because it's stone ground leaves. But for supplemental purposes, L-theanine is a molecule that crosses the blood-brain barrier to help our brains make more of its own GABA. So very different than taking GABA, because supplemental GABA cannot cross the blood-brain barrier. So if you take supplemental GABA, it can be, I didn't know this at first and it was confusing. If you're trying to calm an anxious mind and you take GABA, it's really weird because your brain feels the same, but now your body feels calm. And that's almost weirder. So it can circulate in the blood, but it can't cross the blood-brain barrier and really help with more GABA within the brain. So if people are looking for GABA, I always recommend theanine instead. It's the precursor. It's going to cross the blood-brain barrier. It's going to help you make more of your own GABA. It also increases alpha brainwaves. So alpha brainwaves, think of alpha brainwaves as the kind of brainwaves you have when you are focused on something you love and are intentional about. It could be archery, it could be golf, it could be running, it could be giving a lecture. It's akin to flow state. I know a lot of neuroscientists say flow state, isn't real, but alpha brainwaves are real. If you are anxious and uncomfortable, you're in a beta brainwave state. You don't feel quite right. An alpha brainwave state is calm focus. So
in the moment.
In the moment, and you're like, to me, honestly, it's what ketones seem to immediately do. It's just like, there's a list. You don't even have to think about the list. When you're in that alpha state, it's task done, task done, task done.
Right.
And so theanine is amazing. It not only increases our own GABA, increases the alpha brainwave state. It also tickles, if you will, because it's not a strong effect, but tickles serotonin and dopamine. So we're also getting a little bump in serotonin, a little bump in dopamine, but not a super strong one. A lot of nootropic stacks that I've taken and looked at, they're adding D-L-phenylalanine, they're adding tyrosine, they're adding L-dopa. So we're jacking dopamine, GABA, serotonin, and acetylcholine up all at the same time. And it's not, to me, that's not the optimal state. If you're actually looking for clear, calm focus, there's a time to add a little more dopamine. There's a time to add more serotonin, but those ones tend to be very specific to the individual. I'm not naturally a high serotonin person, and I don't feel good when I just take something to jack up serotonin. I'm naturally very high dopamine. So I only add things to increase dopamine when I know I need more dopamine. Otherwise, I feel drugged. So it was important to me that what we put in our formula were not only efficacious doses of nootropics and substances that had a clear functionality, but that also weren't going to spin you off in a direction where you now needed to do something else to bring yourself back to baseline, because there's a lot of that out there. And we don't need any more of that, in my opinion. No. And, the big piece of this, I've been in this industry, I forget where I am in time, but it's 22 to 24 years. And what I have found is that I forget how confusing and complicated the whole supplement space is when you don't come from it. So people hear nootropics, that sounds awesome. I would like good brain function. And then they have no idea where to start. And they want to start with just one. They don't want to buy 5 pills and take a handful every morning and then remember to take it again. So KetoBrainz came out of what I ended up doing about 2 years into keto. I was doing the C8 MCT oil in my coffee, and I knew what supplements I wanted, so I was opening those up. Then I listened to a podcast where Dom D'Agostino talked about how his dog accidentally ate a whole tub of the Quest C8 MCT powder. And I went, wait, there's a powder? So I moved to the powder, and really KetoBrainz was exactly my dialed in everyday morning stack after 20 plus years in the industry. And what I realized for myself, and then sharing it with my brother and other friends, is that people loved it because they didn't have to do the confusing work of which supplement, how many times a day, which pills. 99% of the population has a morning beverage they love. So why not coffee? Yep. Why not make it an easy, delicious part of your morning routine? There's not a handful of pills. The math is already done for you on the formulation. And, I didn't think anything of it until I started to, again, it's like, if I'm not a mechanic, so I don't know how to fix my engine. That's why I go to someone else. And the person who knows my engine, that's what they know, right?
Right.
And I take for granted with keto, with supplements, that people just don't know, but they don't. And that's why we do these things to try to simplify and
That's
show
the same
them.
with keto bricks, keto chow, all these. You can do your own electrolytes, but you can also conveniently get them from the people who know how they do them.
Correct. And there's also the time constraint. If you're busy being a lawyer, do you have time to go spend 12 hours researching the electrolyte balance or protein balance or your nootropics? And fantastic. If you're a lawyer and you can do that, like, awesome. But there are people out there, quality people with integrity who own, if you will, very specific pieces of knowledge, so that those of us who don't have time to go figure out that other piece of knowledge, we can draw on friends in the community to share what they've learned. And it's kind of neat because the idea of community has just become virtual and global, but it works.
That community, going to these conferences and then meeting you guys and try the product, getting free products. And
it's been amazing for us. It's been amazing for us because, prior to starting a company, we did a lot of in-person things. And then you start a company, and so much is just there's just so much in the background to proper production and ensuring everything goes well. The events are amazing because we get to meet our people and our friends who use the product, and we get to hear from them how it hits them, how they leverage it. And that feedback, that's the most delicious part, I think, of a business is hearing how the product you made, it's effective, what it does, what it does for you, but hearing from other people how it helps them and how they leverage it kind of makes all of the back end stuff worth it.
Then it tastes really good. So the back end stuff is making sure that it's good quality. How do you ensure that?
So it's interesting because we do, as a tiny business, more testing than most companies. And I didn't realize that. Part of it is because right now we produce in a small facility in Santa Barbara. It's an FDA registered facility in California. For all of its craziness, and they have the highest standards for testing everything. And apparently you don't have to, but I thought we had to. So first of all, we source quality raw materials, but that's just, you work with businesses that either have trademarked raw materials, and you work with businesses who regularly test. You do everything you can to ensure that when you receive your raw materials, each individual raw material is sent out for heavy metals, micro, and identity testing. So if something is naturally occurring, like the lion's mane, you ideally send that out for identity testing, which is kind of similar to a DNA test. So they're testing to make sure that lion's mane isn't reishi mushroom or isn't, red clover or something else. Then you mix the product, and the final product goes back out for another round of testing before you can ship it to the consumer. So there's the act of researching the company and choosing what appears to be a quality company. Then there is the verification. So all of your raw materials come with their own COAs. So their own, certificates that show you what's in them. And not every company takes that and then does their own test to make sure that that's accurate. So we get labs from every company, but we can't use those. So we have to run our own labs on every ingredient every single time, which I'm realizing even big companies don't do that, but we're already doing it. So we're going to keep doing it. And then there's just all of those extra processes you have to choose to do, because, there's a time and a place where you've worked with a company forever and a test has never come back bad. So you can do what's called a skip lot. So if you've paid for 30 tests on a raw material from a trademarked raw material brand and it's never come back bad, then legally you can start doing skip lots where you're not testing every batch. You're testing every 6th or every 5th or every 10th. And honestly, we just kind of forgot that we could do that, and we've just been testing every run. So it's a good accident because it's nice to be able to say that. But it's finding also the specifications. So our MCT, for instance, not only did I want it to be the C8 MCT, minimum of a 70% of the C8, the hardest part was the texture and the flavor and the mouthfeel, because I have so many bags of test MCT here, and 99% of them are gritty. They don't stay in solution, and they don't feel delicious in your mouth. And that wasn't going to work, because the whole point is delicious ketogenic beverage that doesn't ruin my coffee, that I want to take, than the nootropics. So the MCT was a tough one, finding that, and especially through COVID, maintaining a supply chain for the MCT that would give us those results. Same on the coconut. The coconut milk powder is organic, and at one point I thought coconut cream powder would be even better, and it wasn't. It changed everything about the formula. So I learned, okay, this percentage of fat is exactly what we want. The other nutraceuticals, I knew what I wanted. For our alpha GPC, we use a trademarked raw material called alpha size. And alpha size is produced in Brazil. And what's good about a trademarked raw material, you can say, oh, there's tons of studies on alpha GPC, and there are. But those studies aren't done on your alpha GPC and your product. So our alpha GPC is a trademarked raw material, and this company does their own tests on their raw material. So I like that because there can be quality differences between a generic alpha GPC and a quality trademarked alpha GPC. You can also have a 50% concentration or 100%. Ours is 100% concentration. So you could have a product with 300 milligrams of alpha GPC that's only 50% concentrated, or one that's 100% concentrated, and you're going to have a different effect. So all of those little things were important to me because, again, I wanted to produce a product you would feel. That's how I supplement. Like when I get excited about a supplement, the first thing I do is I go look for the studies. How many milligrams were used? How many milligrams do I need to take to potentially get the benefits of this, supplement? And I think that's why a lot of people don't think supplements work. You hear X supplement does this, and you never dive into the study, and you don't realize you have to take $100 worth of that supplement every day to get the results that they got in the study. And then people are like, oh, it doesn't work.
I just read this WebMD thing on Twitter where they say something that's in the peel of lemon, not peel, but and you would have to eat, I think, 16 or so watermelons just to get the benefit. So it doesn't work.
No, I think that might be Acetylcholine, the precursor to arginine.
Yes, but some incredible amount. So
that to me, that's where, the question of supplements, I like to supplement things that I know I'm not getting adequate amounts of for what I'm optimizing for, right? So if I know I'm really low in iron, and I know I'm at the point where, in the past, like I would have hair loss and fatigue and this and that, I'm going to eat my meat, but I'm also going to add a heme iron supplement because I'm optimizing for something different, right, than my daily doings. And so to say, oh, watermelon is great because it's going to increase NO and nitric oxide is really important for X, Y, and Z. But am I going to give myself diabetes because I'm going to eat 12 watermelons a day? No, I'm going to buy a quality L-citrulline supplement. So, So there's right. And what you just said is exactly what happens is, forget who said it. I call it myth information now. So we get a piece of science and it's amazing, but it's the first piece of a puzzle. But then quote unquote science writers, they go and they make a sexy headline based on this one new piece of information that might lead to something. Everybody gets excited, but this is just the first thread. Like, we don't know enough to do the thing that the science writer then says. And I think it's a disservice most of the time because, like we talked about, if you've not spent 20 years in this space going, wait a minute, let me hold on. Let me go back to the study. What's real there? What do we really know? Most people don't have time for that. So they see headline, they see watermelon, they go buy watermelon, they make watermelon juice.
And behind a paywall too. Most people don't even have access to the studies.
Nope. And then, like, I've read many studies and you can't read them fast. Like, if you really want to know what's going on, you got to sit down with a fat cup of KetoBrainz and you're studying to figure out what's in there. And, I wish I had the time to just do that. But most of us don't, even those of us in the industry. And most people aren't even aware that conferences like we have been to and the ones you go to, those are so amazing because you get the top minds in the space distilling down what is known about the current study, and you get the real truth from it. And it's not getting spun in one direction or another. And you at least then have some pristine nuggets to leave with that you can apply to your own optimization journey. And that's really, to me, that's what all of this is about. What are you optimizing for? What are you trying to correct for? What do you currently feel that you don't want to feel? All right, let's find our tools. Let's leverage the tools and let's move forward.
And that's what I think it's all about. It's about optimizing health. So we can eat a clean diet. We can eat meat, eggs, a few select vegetables, maybe a few fruit. But when there is a deficiency, we need to optimize that. Why would we not use supplements like D3K2 if we can't get out into the sun often enough? Why would we not buy nootropics?
Yep. Well, and that's you're at the forefront of the thinking on that. And it's funny because, just as for instance, I've got a fully torn rotator cuff. It's probably been fully torn for 4 years, but I just found out. So I'm going down the rabbit hole of the different kinds of stem cells, the different kinds of treatments, the different this, the different that. And all of these same questions come up, but in a realm that's brand new to me, right? It's like, well, why do it? What am I optimizing for? What's my appetite for cost? Who do I believe? Who has the right information, right? But it's all towards the end of optimizing for long-term functionality of X. And I'm applying the same things I would apply to, well, why would I supplement? I could just go lay in the sun. Well, do I have time to lay in the sun? Like, do I have time to test vitamin D 5 times this week to see, how much?
Is it too cold, -20 degrees?
Yeah.
Do I have a sun sensitivity like me?
Well, yeah, there's the sun sensitivity. Yes, the sun is good for our skin, but it can still age the skin. So it's all of these balanced questions. And I think Peter Attia is where I first heard it, but many years ago. And that question, I use that with everyone now. When they say, well, why I want to go keto. I want everyone to go keto, but I'm not going to start there. My first question is, okay, well, what are you optimizing for in wanting to go keto? Are we optimizing for longevity? Are we optimizing to get out of diabetes? Are we optimizing for weight loss? What's our starting point? Then I'm with you. What tools are available? We've got supplements, we've got diet, we have exercise. And I think we all need to have our own toolkits of all of those things. And I'm with you. If I can get a quality vitamin D that I know absorbs, and I can go get a cheap blood test to show me that it absorbs, that's what all of this amazing stuff is. This is the N of one, is gather information, try it, test it. Do I feel better? We're doing good then. And
whatever gives me an edge.
That right there. Yes. What gives me an edge for what I'm optimizing for? Right. And it could be slightly different for each individual. But we have to own our health and our lives enough to choose to make those decisions. Because if you just enter into, I feel sick, I will go to the doctor. It's not safe anymore. I don't know if it was ever safe.
It's ill for every ill.
It's horrible.
So we talked about 3 ingredients. Did we miss any?
So we have 5 ingredients total. So the 2 base ingredients are the per serving 8 grams of C8 MCT. So our wonderful medium chain triglyceride that helps boost those ketones. Then we have 7 grams of the coconut milk powder, which really is just delicious and smells amazing and works really well with that C8. Then we have our 300 milligrams of alpha GPC for acetylcholine to bring about more focus. We have our 500 milligrams of lion's mane mushroom to increase BDNF and NGF to nourish those brain cells acutely and long term. And then we also have our 250 milligrams of L-theanine. So again, our L-theanine, we are increasing alpha brain waves. It is crossing the blood-brain barrier to help make more GABA.
It's just for the brain.
It's a hug for the brain. Yes.
Awesome.
And that's our KetoBRAINS.
Yeah, we talked about, I have a Facebook community, about 20,000 people and 21,000 or so followers on Twitter. We talked about a discount code. So I'm not getting anything from the discount code. But how does that work? Like, how do people use it? The code is going to be code Roxana.
Yep, you're going to take that code from Roxana, and when you go to our site to give KetoBRAINS a try and make a purchase, at checkout, there'll be a place to put in that little code, and you'll get that discount on every order should you decide to add KetoBRAINS to your life.
All right, so I'm going to put that in the keynotes. Is there any special bundles that you would recommend? I mean, one thing I can recommend is this. You have this beautiful I think it's a ceramic bowl, like where you store it.
Yeah, we had so many customers reaching out, showing us these Tupperware containers that they were turning into their KetoBRAINS containers. They really wanted a container, so we did the blue Miron glass. So it's a really thick glass. It is moisture resistant, heat resistant, light resistant, so it keeps your KetoBRAINS nice and sound. It fits almost an entire bag. I think one scoop doesn't fit in there. but it's a nice, beautiful storage container for your KetoBrainz.
Got a nice weight to it too.
It's solid. Yeah, I've dropped mine and it's not broken. So they're very well constructed. I don't recommend throwing it, but
yeah,
it's made it through one drop. But yeah, the container is great. We find once people try KetoBrainz, they never want to be without it. So they want something to store it in next to their coffee maker. And that comes with a nice long spoon that gets to the bottom of the container. So that's a really nice bundle. That's the KetoBrainz with the Miron glass jar and spoon. So you have somewhere to store it. If you don't have a good hand blender, we have a beast of a hand blender that is a USB rechargeable, and it has a little, it has a lid on it. So it's great for keeping in the car or for tossing in your bag for travel.
It recharges.
What was that?
It can be recharged.
Yep, with your phone charger. It's USB rechargeable, so you don't have to, you're not playing with batteries on airplanes and such. But those are great starter bundles. And that's typically what people start with. So they've kind of got the whole kit. We have some bundles with coffee. We work with a local coffee roaster that just because coffee is delicious and why not? But I know everyone has their favorite coffee. But I would say, the KetoBrainz with the glass jar and the spoon, or the KetoBrainz with the deluxe hand blender are the most commonly purchased for a first purchase. So you're set up for the best experience.
Okay, so I'm going to put those links into the show notes. Did we miss anything?
Did we miss anything? I think not when it comes to the formula. I mean, we can deep dive forever on the formula, but the basics of what it does. And I think we really hit home on what I think is the most important thing in all these conversations is these are tools to further optimize. Like I think everyone deserves to feel good while they're on the planet. And we have so much kind of going against us health-wise that when you can start finding tools and dietary ideologies like keto and like carnivore that just can completely change how you feel, I think everyone deserves to feel good. Yes, it takes work. Yes, you need to do quite a bit of work to make those changes, but it's worth it. It's worth it. And there are tools to help. There are tools to help you get there. And, that's the keto chow and the salty product, something like KetoBrainz, like exogenous ketones. These are all tools to help you get optimized. And to me, it's exciting. Most people don't want to hear it. In this community, I love it because I feel like this community gets excited the way I do.
I can never stop talking about it.
No, I can't. And then I have to I've learned at CrossFit and at places where people they're just not there. I just keep my mouth shut until they ask. And then once they ask, then it gets fun. But, I don't know what's more important personally.
If you wear the right t-shirt, then people will ask.
Then they know. I know I'll wear my Nick hoodie, my science that can't be questioned is religion. And that one's great.
Nick Norwitz, yes.
Nick Norwitz. So that hoodie I get good conversations with. So it's true. You kind of have to, it's a new tribe and you have to wear some tribal gear for the tribe to know that they can talk to you.
And that's also how we recognize each other. Anyways, thank you, Molly, for joining me. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Yep. Don't forget about the discount code, Coach Roxana. And I put everything into the show notes. See you next time.
Thank you.
Bye.